Okay, real talk. Right now, as you're watching this, you're connected to something that didn't even exist for most of human history. And yet, if it disappeared for just one day, 24 hours, civilization as we know it would essentially grind to a halt. I'm not being dramatic. I'm talking hospitals losing patient records, banks unable to process transactions, traffic lights going dark, GPS satellites becoming useless hunks of metal in space. Here's what nobody tells you about the internet. It's not just a tool anymore. It's the invisible nervous system of modern society. And in the next 15 minutes, you're going to understand exactly how fragile that system really is and what would happen if it just stopped. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning. Your phone is silent. Not on silent mode, actually silent. No buzzing, no notifications, no little red dots begging for your attention. At first, it feels kind of nice, right? Peaceful, even. You check Instagram out of habit, nothing loads. You try Twitter, blank screen, Netflix won't open. Your smart home system that controls your lights and thermostat, dead. Your Alexa is just an expensive plastic cylinder that won't respond. And then you realize something terrifying. Your credit cards don't work. The ATM outside won't give you cash. Your Uber app is useless. And when you try to call your boss to explain why you can't work from home, you remember that modern phone networks rely on internet infrastructure. Even your calls are gone. Now, most people think the internet is just social media and cat videos and online shopping. But that's like saying your heart is just that thumping sound in your chest. What's really happening is that every single system we depend on, banking, healthcare, transportation, food supply, emergency services, the electrical grid itself, all of it runs on internet connectivity. We've built our entire civilization on top of this invisible network, and we did it so fast that nobody stopped to ask, what happens if it breaks? Think about it this way. Back in the 1,990 seconds, if the internet went down, yeah, you'd lose email and maybe some work files. Annoying, but survivable. Today, your car has 50 computer systems that need regular internet updates. Your refrigerator orders groceries automatically. Your insulin pump connects to your doctor's office in real time. Your job probably exists because of internet-based tools. We didn't just add the internet to our lives, we rebuilt our entire world around it. And that means we're not talking about inconvenience anymore, we're talking about actual survival. Here's what I call the invisible dependency trap. It's this pattern where we rely on something so completely that we forget we're relying on it at all. It's like breathing. You don't think about breathing until someone puts a plastic bag over your head. The internet has become our collective oxygen, and most of us have no idea how deep that dependency goes. Because here's the thing, when everything works, you don't see the system. You just see the results. Your food shows up, your money moves, your messages send. But behind every single one of those actions, there's this massive web of connected computers talking to each other billions of times per second. And if that conversation stops, even for a day, the consequences ripple out in ways that would absolutely shock you. Let me break down what actually happens in the first 24 hours, because this isn't like a power outage where you light some candles and wait it out. This is different. This is watching the entire modern world try to function without its brain. Hour one. The first thing that crashes is the financial system. And I mean completely crashes. See, when you swipe your credit card at Starbucks, that transaction doesn't happen locally. It pings a server that verifies your account, checks your balance, contacts your bank, gets authorization, processes the payment, and sends confirmation back. All of that happens in about 2 seconds. Without the internet, none of that works. Your card is just a plastic rectangle. Your bank account might have money in it, but there's no way to access it. No ATMs, no wire transfers, no Venmo, no PayPal. The stock market shuts down immediately because high-frequency trading algorithms can't function. We're talking about trillions of dollars just frozen, trapped in a system that can't move without connectivity. But here's where it gets wild. Most businesses don't keep enough cash on hand to operate without card payments. Target can't process transactions. McDonald's can't take orders through their app or their registers. Gas stations can't pump fuel because the pumps verify payment through internet connections. So now you've got this cascade effect where people can't buy food, can't buy gas, can't pay for anything except with physical cash. And how much cash do you have in your wallet right now? $50? Maybe 100? That's not lasting you 24 hours if you need to buy food for your family and gas to get to work. Then something even scarier starts happening. Emergency services begin to fail. Here's what most people don't realize. When you call 911, that call gets routed through internet-based systems. Dispatchers use computer networks to see your location, pull up your address, check if you've called before, and coordinate with police, fire, or ambulances. Without that, they're working blind. They can still take calls on backup systems, but they can't coordinate responses efficiently. They can't access medical histories. They can't see traffic patterns to find the fastest route. Meanwhile, hospitals are in full panic mode because electronic health records are inaccessible. Your doctor can't see your allergies, can't check what medications you're on, can't access your x-rays from last month. They're practicing medicine the way it was done in 1985, except they've forgotten how because they've been depending on computers for 20 years. And here's the kicker. Modern medical equipment itself needs internet connectivity. MRI machines upload results to cloud servers. Insulin pumps adjust dosages based on data synced online. Pacemakers report to doctors wirelessly. Ventilators and ICUs are monitored remotely. Without the internet, all of that stops. Doctors are making life or death decisions with a fraction of the information they need. And people are dying because of it. Not because doctors aren't skilled, but because we built a healthcare system that literally cannot function offline. Now let's talk about something you probably haven't considered. The electrical grid. You might think electricity and the internet are separate systems. They're not. Not anymore. Power plants coordinate with each other through internet connections to balance the load across the grid. When demand goes up in Los Angeles, power gets rerouted from less busy areas automatically. Smart grids monitor themselves in real time, predicting failures before they happen and redirecting power to prevent blackouts. Without internet connectivity, none of that coordination works. And here's the nightmare scenario. Parts of the grid start failing. Rolling blackouts begin. And now you don't just have an internet outage. You have an internet outage plus power failures, which means even the backup systems that don't need internet start dying too. There's this concept I call the coordination collapse. It's what happens when systems that depend on instant communication suddenly go silent. Think about air traffic control. Every plane in the sky right now is being tracked by radar systems that feed data to controllers through internet connections. Pilots receive weather updates, route changes, and landing instructions through data links. Without that, planes can still fly using backup radio systems, but coordination becomes massively harder. Airports start grounding flights immediately because they can't safely manage the traffic. Within hours, thousands of planes are sitting on runways. Hundreds of thousands of passengers are stranded, and the economic impact of that alone is staggering. Or think about the food supply chain. Walmart's entire inventory system runs on real-time internet data. Trucks delivering food to grocery stores use GPS and internet-based logistics software. Refrigerated warehouses monitor temperature through cloud-based sensors. If any of that fails, food starts spoiling, deliveries stop. And within 24 hours, grocery store shelves start looking empty because nobody can coordinate restocking. This isn't a long-term food shortage, but it's chaos. It's people panicking and hoarding whatever's left. It's supply chains breaking down because trucks don't know where to go and warehouses can't communicate with stores. But here's what makes this even more insane. Most people's jobs don't exist without the internet. And I don't just mean remote work or tech jobs. I mean almost everything. Teachers can't access lesson plans stored in the cloud. Lawyers can't access case files. Architects can't open CAD drawings. Accountants can't access financial software. Even factory workers find that the machines they operate are controlled by internet-connected systems. So now you've got this situation where people are trying to work, but they literally can't do their jobs. Productivity doesn't just drop. It essentially stops. And every hour that passes, the economy is losing billions of dollars that it will never get back. And then there's something darker that starts happening around hour 6 or 7. People begin to panic. Social media is how most people get news now. Without Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, people have no idea what's happening. Is this a cyber attack? Is it terrorism? Is it worldwide or just the US? Rumors spread through word of mouth, getting more distorted with every retelling. News stations try to broadcast, but they can't do live reporting from the field because their satellite uplinks are dead. Radio becomes the primary source of information, and suddenly people remember that most of them don't own radios anymore. The psychological impact of being cut off from information is massive. Anxiety spikes. People start making irrational decisions based on incomplete information. Here's what nobody wants to admit. We've created a society where being disconnected feels like being blind. And when you take away people's ability to see what's happening, they freak out. There's this study that shows people would rather experience physical pain than sit alone with their thoughts and no phone for 5 minutes. Now imagine that feeling, but extended across an entire population for 24 hours. And add in the fact that real systems are actually failing, that food is running out, that money doesn't work, that hospitals are overwhelmed. That's not just inconvenience, that's mass psychological distress on a scale we've never seen before. But here's where things get really interesting, because mixed in with all the chaos, something unexpected starts happening. People start talking to each other, like actually talking, face to face. No phones to scroll through at dinner, no Netflix to zone out to, no email to answer at midnight. Families who haven't had a real conversation in months suddenly have nothing to do but talk. Neighbors who've lived next to each other for years and never said hello start helping each other figure out how to get through this. There's this weird moment where people remember what life was like before the internet was everywhere, and some of them realize they kind of miss it. Let me tell you about two people experiencing this exact same blackout in completely different ways. There's Jessica. Jessica's entire life is online. She runs a social media marketing business. Her clients communicate through Slack. Her income depends on posting content to Instagram and Facebook. Her apartment is full of smart devices. She pays all her bills online. She orders all her food through DoorDash and Instacart because she's too busy to cook. When the internet goes down, Jessica is completely paralyzed. She can't work, she can't earn money, she can't access her bank account. She doesn't even know how to cook a meal from scratch because she's always just followed YouTube recipes on her phone. She's sitting in her apartment having what's basically a panic attack because the entire infrastructure of her life has just vanished, and she realizes something terrifying. She has no real skills that work offline. She's completely dependent on a system she doesn't understand and can't fix. Now meet Tom. Tom's a high school history teacher. He's 62 years old. He uses the internet for work, sure, but he grew up in a world without it. When the internet goes down, Tom is annoyed, but not helpless. He's got cash in his wallet. He knows how to read a paper map. He's got a landline phone that still works on the old telephone network. He walks to the grocery store and pays cash for supplies. He pulls out his old record player and listens to vinyl. He reads actual physical books. He goes next door and checks on his elderly neighbor who lives alone. Tom's not having a great time, but he's okay. He knows how to exist without constant connectivity because he remembers when that was just normal life. Notice how the difference isn't about age or intelligence. It's about what you've built your life around. Jessica optimized everything for convenience and efficiency through internet-based systems. Tom kept redundancies, kept analog skills, kept connections that don't require Wi-Fi. And when the system fails, Tom has something to fall back on. Jessica doesn't. This is the part that changes everything. The problem isn't the internet itself. The internet is incredible. It's connected billions of people. It's created opportunities that never existed before. It's given us access to all of human knowledge in our pockets. The problem is that we never built backup systems. We went all in on digital connectivity and forgot to maintain the analog infrastructure that used to keep society running. It's like we built a beautiful skyscraper and then demolished the stairwells because we figured the elevators would never break. Here's what most people don't realize. This isn't actually a hypothetical scenario. Portions of this have already happened. In 2021, Facebook went down for 6 Hours. Just 6 hours. And small businesses that depended on Instagram and WhatsApp for sales lost thousands of dollars. In 2016, a massive cyber attack called the Mirai botnet knocked out internet access across the entire east coast of the US for most of a day. People couldn't access Netflix, Amazon was down, Twitter was inaccessible. It was just websites, and it was just for hours, not a full day. And it still caused chaos. Now imagine that, but worldwide, and including all the critical infrastructure I just described. That's not science fiction. That's a plausible worst-case scenario that cybersecurity experts actually worry about. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in tech wants to talk about. The internet was never designed to be the foundation of civilization. It was designed as a communications network for universities and the military. It got popular before anyone thought about security or resilience or what happens if everyone depends on it at once. We've been patching and upgrading and expanding it for 40 years, but we never stopped to rebuild it properly. It's like we're living in a house built as a shed, and we just keep adding rooms and floors without ever checking if the foundation can handle the weight. Eventually, something's going to give. So what happens at hour 24 when the internet finally comes back online? You'd think everything just goes back to normal, right? It doesn't. There's this massive backlog of transactions that need to process. Billions of messages trying to send all at once. Every website getting hit with traffic from everyone refreshing simultaneously. Systems crash from the overload. It takes days for things to actually stabilize. And in the meantime, the damage is done. The economy has lost trillions. People have died from healthcare failures. Trust in digital systems has been shattered. And everyone's asking the same question. How do we make sure this never happens again? The people who succeed in that scenario aren't the ones with the most technology. They're the ones who understand that technology is a tool, not a life support system. They're the people who keep cash on hand, who know their neighbors' names, who have skills that work offline, who didn't optimize every aspect of their life for efficiency at the cost of resilience. They're not preppers or survivalists. They're just people who remembered that convenience and fragility are two sides of the same coin. It's not actually about whether you can survive 24 hours without the internet. It's about whether you've built a life that can only exist inside one system. Because systems fail. They always have. And when you make yourself completely dependent on something you don't control and can't fix, you're not adapting to the modern world. You're making yourself vulnerable to it. The question isn't whether this scenario will happen. The question is what version of yourself you'll be when it does. Because now you know something most people don't. You know that the invisible thing connecting everything is also the single point of failure for almost everything. You can't unknow that. And what you do with that knowledge determines whether you're Jessica, panicking in her apartment, or Tom, checking on his neighbor and making dinner from ingredients he actually understands. So next time you can't get a Wi-Fi signal and you feel that little spike of anxiety, ask yourself, is this just inconvenience? Or is this a preview of how fragile my whole life actually is? Because once you see how thin that connection really is, everything looks different.